Outlaws is developed by Massive Entertainment and published by Ubisoft, distributed and published. Sometimes Ubisoft do develop in-house, we've seen that before, but this isn't one of them. Skull and Bones is, however. The whole game is becoming this sort of shining example of bad development, and I disagree with a lot of it. There looks to be an extremely learned content creator there saying it's just sad. They find it sad this Ubisoft game doesn't work properly. Cyberpunk's main questline was broke, 100% broke day one. It took them about 3.5 months to even fix that. And if you want to see the horrendous PlayStation 5 version on launch, feel free to check out one of my 16 patch videos. I am CouchCoop and I'm more than prepared, as you well know, to call out Ubisoft on their crapness with their open world games. I've made half a living out of it with the channel over the last 8 years, but this situation doesn't call for it. Despite what have been called soft sales figures, this isn't a broken mess that these larger creators are making out. It's actually a very attractive and quite addictive open world Star Wars game. That second patch dropped at about 11 o'clock UK time for me, and it was 3.65 gigabyte. Getting some detailed notes about it is pretty weird. I had to go down some Reddit threads, and they're talking about making sure that camera is adjusted when on the bike and fixing all hard resets, freezes, any major game breaking crashes. This patch also offers a bit more depth with reputation and the different clans, and also losing some rep with doing things within clan areas that you're not in favour with. It's a lot stricter. I'm also going to be looking very closely for some performance changes because I'm a big fan of the game in quality mode, and sometimes transition to the vehicle or going at high speed in and around busy areas caused a few frame drops. It wasn't anything really to complain about. We are also still looking at an earlier version of the game. I'm running through things prior to that big patch drop in just to see what sticks out on the bug front, and there's two major areas of complaint with the bigger name reviewers. One of them is a slightly broken detection system on a lot of the AI, and when it comes to those sneak sections, there being a really rigorous save and restart point, i.e. you don't know where you're up to. If you get spotted or killed, you could get rewound right back. 45 minutes of gameplay could be put in the bin. This needs to be looked at and hasn't in this recent patch. Most of them managed to find loads of clipping and T-posing amongst the NPCs. Remember, all of their videos went out even before that first initial patch that came out in the opening couple of weeks. I'm not sure if I've got lucky, but I've only ever had one clip scenery situation and I forced it. There was an enemy player that was sunken to the ground. Interaction with them would have pulled me into the scenery and things would have broke from there on in. That's kind of the major thing I've been seeing on a lot of these other reviews. They're also talking about cookie cutter side quests and contracts, meaning they're all the same. Go get this, go talk to that person. Every open world game has cookie cutter side quests. There's only one on the planet that can claim it doesn't, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, The Witcher 3. We all knew that. There are a whole bunch of quests on Akiva which, if you're not paying attention, seem to be broken as well, because the access to them revolves around having to go over a large piece of water, and you're like, guys, you haven't put the road in the right place, going to start commenting about this on X. It's to do with the aqua addition to your speed bike. Once you've got hold of said piece of equipment, it's amazing. They're like new highways in and around that map. That one is something to look out for because it does give you the side quest prior to getting that section of the bike unlocked.
Why do the Syndicates want you dead anyway?
My research. I sort of invented a new kind of Viper droid for the Empire. It's faster, smarter, and can hunt in packs.
What?
It also gives you access to this colossal lake with loads of cool new secrets and little temples and areas and crash ships in it. And some of the visuals when you rock up with the water, steam, mist melding with some of this cloud and beautiful draw distance and reflection mechanics. It's just sad. It's just really sad that I'm enjoying this, isn't it? Really sad. The introduction to the new clan and technically a new enemy type is also quite interesting at this stage in the game. I'm up to about 35 hours, so I've still got some planets left and I haven't finished the main campaign. I'm looking at just about every single side quest, contract and mission within the parameters of the planet before leaving it, and that's why that main progression is taking me so long. If these reviewers were like, nah, second from last mission, you fall through a grill that you can't get back up through, it's over, you can't make it down that corridor, X doesn't spawn in, you cannot progress, I would understand the rage, but there's nothing wrong with the single player content. I was also pleasantly surprised at seeing combat with the droid companion. I thought he was just going to stick to sitting in that ship and not get involved with you. Quite literally, side by side, blasting, does get in the way a little bit, but a damn sight more useful than Nick's. We are still in pre-patch footage, by the way. It's the last thing I wanted to show you. This transition to the vehicle, no frame drop, skip, freeze, screen tear, nothing. This is amazing stuff. We are in quality mode, remember.
Feel like going for a ride?
There is one thing that stood out, and it's when you transition between planets within that ship and then go into the stations, there was this like black ink stain. It was a flash up for literally half a frame, but it was jarring and it happened on just about every entry. One of the first things I wanted to test, and it was and wasn't fixed. It didn't appear when I attempted it first, but when I left the planet, the damn thing came back. I've also noticed a slight jerk on the reset of Kay's relax animation or stance. When you're doing the listening poses or leaning on a bar, it jars to go back to the beginning of whatever movement that character is doing then. Hopefully stuff like that will get ironed out. I'm probably one of the few people on the planet who actually bother noticing that sort of crap. Okay, we are here. We are in new patch territory. 7 minutes, Coop. My God, I'm going to timestamp here. Apologies, but I just really wanted to hit home that there's barely anything wrong with the visuals and basic functions of this game prior to that patch coming in. I swear we get a bit more smoothness, particularly in that photo mode with the pans, but just in general, just transitioning through doors and walking through busy areas, the quality mode feels even more pegged. I know that's not a believable thing. I just want to touch on the thing that's happening to Ubisoft at the moment. They're on like a triple loss, what with Skull and Bones and with all the rumours around the new Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then this underperforming. It's kind of like that pack mentality. Ubisoft are injured, they're down, and these bloggers, users and content creators just swarm in because they can see that there's a problem. If we were to lose Ubisoft, some of you may not be old enough to remember the inception of that company, but they were godlike when it came to third-person action-based RPG games. They're absolutely brilliant at it. The early Assassin's Creed games, even the Ghost Recon material. Imagine being in the executive office and the intern puts their hand up and says, we don't need to make a brand new Assassin's Creed Black Flag 9th gen fully remastered with some new content. Let's call it Black Flag 2. We need to make an always online service, log in every day piece of crap like Skull and Bones. And the management agreed with them. These individuals, I think, are gradually getting flushed out of the industry. You see it with a lot of firing and hiring mechanics that are happening recently. There needs to be a sort of slate cleaning, and it will happen.
I was about to be dragged out of my hat by some Tuscan raiders.
What was it?
What makes you so sure this cull is going to occur? Well, it's to do with capitalism. As much as people hate it, it's a little bit like evolution. If you are not strong enough to survive, if you do not make enough money, if your product is no good, it will die and be buried and become a fossil. It's a self-policing system. Disney cannot lose any more money. Ubisoft cannot have another loss financially. They just can't. I think they're at the coffers at the moment, hence the reason these Outlaws numbers were so devastating for them. If Outlaws was a skull and bones, I'd be the first guy to jump on top of that bandwagon and start saying, you idiots, you've put the nail in your own coffin. But get this, Outlaws is a really good, always offline, massive, make your own choice, open world Star Wars game, and they're really trying to appeal to their traditional fan base, which I can personally vouch for as being one of them. Splinter Cell Conviction, split screen, could have been peak. Just looking at the exterior of Jabba's palace here, no major spoilers, story stuff in this. I'll try and keep it to a minimum, dialogue, that sort of thing, but always makes you wonder about his access, you know, for reversing up, getting him in there. Maybe there's a conveyor belt, no stairs. He might even be able to do stairs, thinking about it. Shall we have a quick look at some of this really sad combat that we have to deal with this bloody Ubisoft game?
No!
Did you see the absolute state of it? That roll, getting behind cover, not having annoying prompts on the cover or in and around the user interface. It does feel quite natural. I've got the slide in now and I'm used to what level I'm supposed to be at when taking cover. It's great and free feeling, and having that alternative fire on the pistol, grenades and smoke coming in, there's nothing wrong with it at all. In actual fact, it's really strong combat to be put into a game of this size and conception.
Hold on, buddy! Okay. Okay.
This scene here, it's not too spoilery, don't worry, you can open your eyes, but dang, it got me thinking about Princess Leia's outfit during her imprisonment with Jabba on the original films. How much the sort of concept of Star Wars has changed in that direction. Whether that's a good or bad thing is a debate for another time. I think the audience of Star Wars has certainly changed since the original films came out. I'll leave that one with you. Just a bunch of annoying kids. Shh, shush. This might be slightly spoiler, but if you saw my original video on this game, I was craving a rancor, bro. Craving that giant brown lizard. We got him, but it's not as an intimate fight as I would like. Go to Jedi Survivor if you want to really kick that thing's ass. So I wouldn't say this patch was a nothing burger. It's certainly not given us like an extra planet or a new race, something like that, but it certainly has tidied up the game's performance, and I experienced no hard crashes, no issues with the UI in 5.5 hours of playing it prior to making this video. I know that's not exactly a vertical slice, but I did visit all of my locations and did some main campaign missions. I did try and look for some of that clippage going on with NPCs, ran around the built up areas to see if anyone was T-posing. Nothing stood out to me at all, but I also said that about the first patch we had way back in, I'm going to say mid-September. I got to the game after that patch. I never saw it on day one, and maybe that's what annoyed these bigger name reviewers so much. Maybe it was just that broken that they couldn't even get out of the gate. I don't think that was the case, judging by most of their footage, and some of them even finished the whole campaign. I'll finish that main campaign content when new material comes in. I don't want to be left without a reason to go back to Outlaws, and there is always one if I've still got those handful of missions left at the top end to then close that book on. Whilst we've got the footage up, I have adjusted my firing mechanisms within the ship to do a burst fire technique, and that's cancelled out some areas. You can't always have all bells and whistles going at once. You do have to sort of pick out different guns and power those up. I was a little bit more impressed with some of the meta in the dogfighting towards mid and late game. There was that large black mark I was talking about on re-entry and leaving a planet. What's my verdict on this patch? Well, it feels a little bit like a hot fix, but it was 3.6 gigabytes. They've meddled around with something that stops those hard crashes, I imagine, because that is just not a thing anymore. And we also do not see any major frame drops, both on and off vehicle and going into those restrictive areas. Even if you're on the bike, you would see popping distance, characters coming in and out, that sort of stuff. Quick top tip, and thanks for getting to the 15-minute mark. If you're sick of all of that getting in and out of ship, go to landing zone, rigmarole to get to another planet, Starfield, you can just go to the map, pan right out to the planetary system, and then drill into the planet you're going to, right down to the landing zone. Done. This broken mess. Stay tuned, because I'm going to cover this game right up until the end of the year, right up until Got You. I think it's going to get a few more nods than you would expect. Hopefully Ubisoft haven't gone into liquidation by then. I was, of course, Couch Coop. Tell me what you think about Outlaws. Are you going to bother with it? Has there been too much bad PR around it? Do you not even like open world games? What are you even doing on this channel? I will leave you with a Tatooine evening and see you down there.